Hi guys and girls, this is the start of an ACI Cisco series where I will be taking you through a bunch of features of Cisco ACI, how to do programming for it so that you can generate objects at a much faster rate than configuring them on the front end. A bit about me: I'm a network orchestration and automation engineer, otherwise known as a network DevOps engineer. I've been in the ISP space and the ITC space for over 15 years. So today we're going to cover the most basic form, which is authentication on POSTMAN. I have prepared a few links, which I will share in the description. And the objective of today is to return a token. We want to be able to see that token because that token is what you will use in future videos in order to make any subsequent posts. Okay. So as you can see, this is just Chrome browser. I've got this open already, but POSTMAN, which we're not going to touch on just yet. The main link is this one that we will be getting our information from. This is directly from Cisco. So let's copy that and go straight to it. Okay. I am specifically looking for the authentication section, so I will do a control find for auth. And then you can see here testing the API with Python. Now the information here, we're not currently doing it in Python, but the information is still relevant to what we want to do. So the first section is I need a path. So the base URL in this script is HTTPS with a IP address and an API path, telling the PC that you're going to be calling an API path. This is similar to what I've got here already. Right? The reason I've got this AAA login is because if you look down here, where's there? So if you look here, it says the login URL that's going to be passed in is the base URL that we got here, plus the AAA login.json. JSON is the data structure that we'll be passing as a payload, and the data structure that will be passed is this section here, which I've already copied and pasted, but we do need to do some things to it. First of all, the username is just fictitious and the password is fictitious. It's not going to work for where we want to log into. The next thing we need to do is we need to go to developer.cisco.com, the sandbox. This is an environment where you can test out your API calls and make sure that they are working. So I'm already logged in. You can log in for free, and all the resources will be for free, or is at least currently for free. The ACI product suite is part of the data center category, so we will be going to data center. Then here is a list of labs. There's obviously a lot more labs, but at the moment under the data center section, there is a couple of data center specific labs that you can reserve and play around on your own, or you can try the always on just to see if your calls are working, which is the fastest way. But the environment is obviously used by a lot of people and it's got limited resources, so it is a bit slower than some of the others. So for now, we're just going to go on the ACI simulator. Now we want to be extracting important information from this page. So for example, the first thing I want to look at is what's my username. So my username is login admin, and my password is Cisco DT. So as you can see on my section here, I've already copied and pasted the username and password. And now the main section here is the URL destination, or the IP address that we want to be reaching. This is what we would put in here, as I've done so in this notepad. And the other part that is usually interesting is the topology, which you can have a look at of what devices you'll be working with on this APIC lab. So there is one APIC controller, there's one spine switch, and there's two leaf switches. I have come across scenarios where the second leaf switch is not available for a maintenance period while Cisco is busy working on it, but that is rare and you shouldn't worry too much, because after a while they do bring it back online, and then you can test calls if you're doing calls to multiple leaves, like VPC port channels and things like that. Okay, so now that we've got the information from Cisco on where to log in and post our calls, we've got the username, the password, and the payload. Now we can go back to our documentation and we get the form, the type of request that will be sent to the APIC. So this is a login request, and the request, as you see here, is from the request library. It's trying to do a post with the login URL, and the data is the JSON credentials. So in Postman, let's open Postman here, and we open that on this side. Now we know that we want to be dealing with a post. So we're going to create a new call. It is post from this selection drop-down. Then we want our enter request URL, so the destination that we want to speak to, including its path. So as I said before, we have to get the IP address section or the URL that you want to speak to, plus the path that you want to speak to, which is it's the API AAA login.json. The .json refers to the data loads that we will be sending the APIC. And okay, you can send XML and JSON, but we will be sending JSON. It's slightly easier to read. Okay, so now that we've got the URL in, now we need to somewhere put in our body, the payload that we will be sending to the server in order to log in. So let's copy that, put it into the body of the text. We are going to be sending raw data, and the data is of type JSON because of that extension, the .json at the end. We can then paste it in there. That should be everything. Now let's see our console. There's no logs yet, so let's send. We see a 200 OK. So let's just go through this and explain this. The 200 OK response means that I've sent a request to the APIC server, and it is responded with, I am happy with what you've sent me, and here's a response back. So the response back always comes in a very similar format, but the part that we are most interested in for later videos is going to be this section called the token. The token is a key that you have to request for every interaction. So you do a key request, and then after that you would then do another post to, let's say, create a tenant or an EPG or a bridge domain. To break down the call, here you can see the network request of what was sent. So my local IP address sent a request to the server on that IP address. And if you look further down, it's already setting the APIC cookie is equal to that NBAA all the way through to about, I think it's up about there. So, but that's definitely the section that we are at most interested in. And if you look at the response body in a text form, this is what you see. This is generally the part that you would be getting back from the call if you do it in Python, and then you would extract this into a JSON format in order to carry on working with it and extract specific information out of it. In the next video, I will show you how we use this token and create a tenant on the live APIC, and it will show up on the lab portal.